got my MTV out. Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get!
Boom. He was untouchable. A mogul. A movement. A billionaire blueprint. From the streets of Harlem to the top floors of Forbes, Diddy didn't just walk into success. He kicked the door down. But now, the same man who once said, "I'm not just a businessman, I'm the business man," is standing face to face with the very system he used to dance around. And in October, the final gavel drops. So how did we get here? Let's rewind. Sean Diddy Combs wasn't born into this, he built it. Bad Boy Records, Biggie Smalls, Ciroc, Revolt, Sean John, MTV, the white parties. For 2 decades, Diddy was everywhere, dancing in videos, making $1 million deals, turning artists into legends, and himself into a billionaire.
I mean, I've tried to answer that question honestly for people for years, but only thing I could just say, like, I'm a unicorn, you know. I'm just different, you know. I just, you know, I'm one of God's children, and this is His plan for me.
His hustle became hip-hop folklore, and his wealth, untouchable. Private jets, luxury vacations, presidential suites. But the higher you fly, the harder the fall. For years, rumors followed him like smoke. Strange parties, celebrity fallouts, quiet lawsuits. There was an expectation behind the velvet ropes. Show up, stay late, keep the energy high. Invitations didn't always feel like invites. They felt like opportunities you couldn't turn down. And when you orbit a star that bright, no stops sounding simple. That's why people started cracking jokes that weren't really jokes.
P. Diddy be wanting to party, and you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
Even comedians were calling it out, joking but half serious. Even young stars were pulled into Diddy's world early on, not for music, but for the image.
Hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle,
right?
And I saw it, and it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
Even younger stars like Justin Bieber got pulled into the orbit. Back then, Bieber was the teenage phenom, fresh off viral fame, co-signed by heavyweights, and learning the business in real time. Diddy positioned himself as a door opener, studio fly-ons, label offices, late night listening sessions, and a front row seat to how power moves are made. To some, it looked like classic mentorship and access. To others, the proximity felt intense for someone so young.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy. You know, where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose.
He framed it as mentorship, exposure to the lifestyle and the mechanics of fame. The internet debated it then, and they're still debating it now. No accusations here, just the reality of how close Diddy kept rising talent, and how image, access, and influence blended into one brand. The parties, the power, the promises, it was all part of the show. But behind the velvet ropes, the questions never stopped, but nothing ever stuck. Diddy always danced out of danger, until 2023. That's when the whispers turned into headlines. Cassie, his longtime girlfriend, filed a lawsuit, and the allegations were brutal. Abuse, control, darkness. The man once seen as hip-hop's kingpin was now being painted as a predator. For days, he said nothing. Then, out of nowhere, Diddy got on Instagram.
I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
He didn't deny it. He didn't blame anyone. I take full responsibility for my actions. But by the time he spoke, it was already too late. That footage, it shattered whatever apology he tried to offer. The apology confirmed what the lawsuit only alleged, and the floodgates opened. March 2024, Homeland Security raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami. Before sunrise, black SUVs rode up and agents in tactical jackets set a perimeter. Neighbors looked out at flashing lights, a helicopter circling overhead, and streets quietly sealed off. This wasn't a rumor on a blog, it was a coordinated operation. Helicopters, feds, boxes. As word spread online, more angles surfaced. Detained, questioned, moved to the curb while agents cleared each room. Not chaos, procedure. Then came the images. On screen, you can see what looks like handguns and long guns with the serial numbers defaced. In any federal case, weapons with obliterated serials raise red flags because untraceable firearms make it harder to track where they came from and why they were there. It doesn't prove everything, it proves the stakes. Diddy was officially under investigation for alleged racketeering, sex trafficking conduct, and Mann Act-related offenses. Suddenly, this wasn't gossip or conspiracy threads. This was a paper trail, a forensic timeline, and a pile of devices waiting to be imaged. This wasn't just hip-hop news, this was federal. But the craziest part, he wasn't even arrested. The fall wasn't just legal, it was cultural. The same industry that once called him a king started to treat him like a ghost. His name disappeared from event flyers, features got quietly pulled, even award shows didn't want the smoke. And then came the jokes, sharp, public, and unfiltered.
You continuously call Puff gay.
He doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity.
It wasn't just shade, it was a signal. People weren't afraid to speak on his name anymore. What was once whispered behind closed doors was now broadcast to millions. And just like that, the empire started to rot from the inside out. It wasn't just accusations anymore, it was reputation collapse in real time. When the charges finally landed, everyone held their breath. But here's the twist, Diddy beat a lot of them. Claims were dismissed. Some evidence couldn't stick, others got mysteriously quiet. But even with most of the weight off his shoulders, one thing still hangs over his head. But he's still facing sentencing, October 2025. That's when the judge will speak and the world will find out what comes next. And just when the media buzz started to cool down, Meek Mill jumped online and said, "Something not right." A cryptic tweet, no names, but everybody knew who he was talking about. A few hours later, the tweet vanished, but the whispers, they didn't. Diddy had everything: fame, power, generational wealth, but somewhere in that spotlight, he lost the plot. Maybe it was ego, maybe it was the people around him, maybe it was power without accountability. Now, that empire is frozen. The party stopped, the invites vanished, but the family is still in the frame. His kids are carrying a weight they never asked for. Headlines, cameras, and a last name that trends every week. However people feel about him, they've tried to hold each other down, posting support, showing up when it counts, or choosing silence to guard their peace. There's a lot happening for them behind the scenes. Schools, schedules, courts, and cameras, and they're the ones catching the echoes while the world waits. And he's staring down a courtroom in October, not a crowd. The fall of Diddy isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a mirror, a reminder that no matter how powerful you get, the truth has a way of catching up. Sometimes it moves slow, sometimes it waits for years, but when it arrives, it doesn't knock. It kicks the door in. People will argue about what this all means. Some will say it's a witch hunt, others will say it's overdue. The reality sits somewhere colder. A man can be larger than life and still answer for the parts of his story that were never meant to see daylight. Fame doesn't erase consequences, it just delays the clock. And what happens to the legacy? The records don't vanish. The moments don't disappear. The parties, the awards, the chart runs, those live online forever. But so do the headlines, the court filings, the apologies. Two timelines now run side by side. The one fans grew up with, and the one the courtroom wrote. Behind the noise, there are people who carry the weight of it. Families trying to live past the last name. Former friends choosing silence over statements. Employees who just needed a paycheck and ended up inside a storm. Whatever you believe about Diddy, the blast radius is bigger than one man. Then there's the industry. The same rooms that cheered the wins now look away. Were they protecting a king or protecting themselves? How many doors stayed open because the money was good and the cameras were flashing? How many stories were dismissed as rumors because the spotlight was blinding? The internet will keep receipts. That's what it does. It will replay the quotes, the clips, the contradictions over and over until the public decides what this era meant. Some will remember the soundtracks of their childhood. Others will remember the court dates. Most will remember both. And now, it all funnels into one date, October. Sentencing, the part of the story where opinion steps aside and a judge speaks. Maybe he walks out with the future measured in restrictions and conditions. Maybe he leaves with a number that rewrites what power looks like. Either way, the decision will echo far beyond one courtroom. So ask yourself, what should happen when a brand becomes bigger than accountability? What happens to the music, the businesses, the charities, the people who build careers under that banner? Do we separate the art from the architect, or do we finally admit they were never separate to begin with? Listen to the quiet in that room. No entourage, no confetti, just a name, a history, and a sentence waiting to be read. When it lands, it will land hard. Not just on him, but on everyone who said they saw nothing. Everyone who said it was none of their business. everyone who only speaks when it's safe. October will decide what's left of Diddy's empire, but the bigger question is, what's left of ours? Our standards, our memory, our willingness to look away until the headlines force us to look back. One man's rise can change a culture, one fall can expose it, and when the gavel finally drops, there won't be a soundtrack, just the sound of a door closing and a chapter ending.